This is Miriam Ben-Shalom, and she's one of the founders of the Compassion Coalition. She's also probably one of the very first people who drew some concern to what's been going on, and so I'm really excited to be able to talk to her today. Miriam, I was wondering if you'd start out by showing us your T-shirt.
If you call a woman a TERF, you are a misogynist.
Yes. So when did we get to the point? When did we get to the point when men's feelings overrode women's rights?
You know, that's a good question. I don't think there's any particular time. I suggest that probably starting in mid 2000, say 2010. Okay, it started.
So for those who don't know what TERF means, I always assume people do, but some people don't. So tell me what you...
I'm not so much exclusionary in terms of trans. I'm a perf. I'm a penis exclusionary radical feminist.
So you don't want penises in women's spaces?
No, I think it's ridiculous to think that people can change their sex. You can change physical appearance, you can change presentation, but you can't change sex. Every cell in my body and in yours too is XX. You can lop off body parts. Let me be very blunt here, whether people like it or not. That's not going to change your sex. That just changes your physical appearance. To force young girls to share locker rooms with boys who say they are girls is ridiculous. To force grown women to have to share spaces with intact males is ridiculous. Trans-identified males are just as much male as any other male, and they have the same rate of violence towards women as other males have. There are studies that support that, and so don't give me any grief about it, not you, but Tim's. I don't think anybody should face discrimination, but I think their rights stop right here.
When they start impeding on yours.
Start saying, I have to do something. Their rights stop when they are forcing me to use language that I know if I use it, I'm lying. Their rights stop when I am forced to enable and support delusion. You know, I put up on Facebook the other day a comparison. There was a picture of a young woman who was really quite thin, but she was looking in the mirror and saw herself as being fat. There was a picture of a guy looking in a mirror, and what he was seeing was a woman. The anorexic is dealt with as a mental problem. You get counseling, you get help. You don't give them special privileges. So some man feels something and he's supposed to be treated like a special snowflake? I don't think so.
Well, the other issue is that
what it is.
The other issue that concerns me is that with the new self-ID approach, which basically says that anybody who says that they feel that way has to be treated that way, means that men who have never even had an inkling of feeling like a woman can say that they do in order to infiltrate female spaces. And to me, that's really dangerous.
It is very dangerous. And yet you will have people in the trans community say, oh, well, if a man says this and he does something bad, he wasn't really trans. Pray tell, how do you know? Like, do they wear white hats if they're really trans and black hats if they're not? Do they have a RT for real trans on their foreheads and FT for fake trans on their foreheads if they're not? They don't even know what being trans means.
You know, it's interesting that they say that. Yeah, because when one of the things they say to me, I was a trans kid, according to their definition, insistent, consistent, and persistent, that I was a boy as a child. And because I desisted and because I accepted myself as a woman, now they will say, well, you were never really trans. So that's sort of the way that they approach a lot of this, is by saying, if somebody does something that's not that we don't approve of, then we just kind of dismiss that. And they're doing that to a lot of the detransitioners that are coming out now. They're saying, oh, well, they were never really trans because they detransitioned. So it's kind of a great way they can to control the narrative by just saying if it doesn't go the way we want it to, we just dismiss it.
Absolutely, it's entirely circular. I am what I am because I say I am, and it's like I just fine. If a man wants to wear a dress, I really don't care. Fine, but don't force me to say, oh, he's a woman, because he's not. And I think the idea of saying trans women are women, well, if they were, then what did they trans from?
Right.
Well, okay. So if we're really going to go along with it, my joke about it all is I now identify as a redwood tree, and I'm a member of an at-risk group of plants and their populations. I think I should be given a really nice greenhouse where I can live for several thousand years and all of this sort of stuff. Now, somebody said to me, it's insulting to say that a person can be a plant. Well, it's just as insulting to say that a man can be a woman or a woman can be a man as well.
Well, and I think it's really dangerous for girls when I think about the message that children, I guess not just girls, but children, are being told that if they are gender nonconforming, that there's a likelihood they're born in the wrong body, which to me is just horribly sad because we fought so hard to get rid of these really regressive gender stereotypes, and now they're coming back.
Well, not only that, but there is a certain type of parent who really doesn't want a gay child. And so it's genocide on gay kids, whether male or female, especially for girls in their teen years. It's genocide on lesbians because lesbians are constantly being told, oh, you're really a man, you're really a boy, you need to transition. Um, it's frustrating because we have this group of clowns who somehow or another have tapped into the dictator's playbook and are now dictating to the rest of society how we should think, what we should do, how we should feel. And I can only hope that seeing little things happen here and there, that perhaps the facade of facetiousness and balderdash is beginning to crack and people are beginning to see the falsehood of what it is. Wear what you want, live what you want, but don't expect the rest of us to enable your delusion.
Well, and it's really scary to me when I hear men who claim to believe that they feel like they're women saying that they're lesbian and that lesbians therefore need to have sex with them or else they're being transphobic. And I hear this commonly. This isn't just something that I hear occasionally. This is now becoming kind of a normal thing for trans activists to say, and it's really scary.
Well, it is scary because they're the ones who are saying, "Oh, you're hooked on genitals, right?" Well, they're the ones who talk about it all the time. They obviously don't comprehend what love, caring, and attraction means. I am a lesbian. I am attracted to women who are like me. Okay, I would never presume of a heterosexual woman in any way whatsoever. I don't treat women like men treat them. It isn't her clitoris. It isn't her labia majora or minora, or the fact that I may deal with her vagina or whatever. It has to do with all of her. I have a life partner of 26 years. She's 100% disabled. She recently broke the heck out of her ankle and she's in rehab right now. That doesn't stop me from loving her. And it has nothing to do with her genitals. It's who she is. And these trans activists, oh, you're transphobic if you don't want lady dick. Well, no, I don't want lady dick because you're not a woman. I'm not attracted to men. Men smell different. They feel different. Their whole, I don't want to use the word aura. I don't know exactly. The whole way they present themselves is different. No, they don't pass.
Well, and I think you can really see how different they are when you have when you have men claiming to believe that they are women, to believe that they know what it feels like to be a woman, and as a woman, I often look at them and think, you don't have any idea what it's like to be a woman, because your whole entitlement, your whole perspective on how you are expecting to have your feelings validated, indicate that you do not have an authentic experience as a female.
Yeah, well, I've oftentimes asked them, well, how do you think a woman feels? For example, how do you think I feel? Crickets.
And do you and I feel the same? Because we're both women. And is one of us more a woman because we have more womanly feelings? And what does that even mean?
I mean, I'm probably okay. I have short hair. I was in the army. I hunt. I fish. I camp. I do lots of things that many women do not do. That might make me gender nonconforming. Well, to hell with gender. I know what I am. I'm a woman, and I don't have to meet anybody's expectations. What bothers me about what trans ideology is doing is it's telling children you need to live up to these certain types of gender expectations that this society in particular has for you, and if you don't, oh boy. We're also telling children that they don't have the freedom to explore and take a look at different things. I mean, what of the girl who likes to play with Tonka trucks
Mm.
and grow up and be an engineer? You know, and what further disturbs me is, they call it sex reassignment or gender reassignment surgery. Well, they only have two genders, male and female. Like, how is that? You understand? Um, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, the problem is you have a lot of entitled males going around whining and carrying on and acting as if they should have the whole world to stick it in. And there's this small group of people that says no. And there's a growing group of people who says, okay, if you're an adult, do what you want, but leave the children alone. And that is so germane, and it is so right. Uh, Babies are not born with a gender. You aren't assigned a gender at birth. You are seen as either male or female, a sex, biology. Leave the kids alone.
I was just curious. You, like me, I believe, have a liberal background. I grew up. I've been far left most of my life, and as a result of what's happened, I have really kind of been catapulted from the left because, and I have to be really careful because people don't like the terms left and liberal and Democrat, but I feel like sort of the group of people that I used to affiliate with politically, that I don't even recognize them anymore as a result of this issue. And I was just wondering, have you had that experience, and have you had much pushback on affiliating with more conservative groups because they're the ones who are willing to come out publicly and denounce what's happening?
Oh, absolutely. I sort of catch hell from both sides. Um, Actually, what we're talking about is the extremes on either end of the spectrum, and you, as am I, as are others, are this vast amorphous group of people stuck in the middle again. No, I catch it all the time from Marxists or left radical feminists who, oh, you're associating with those conservatives and they feel this and they feel that. Well, and right wingers will say, "Oh, you're a moral perversion. You need not to have the right to marry. My partner and I are not married, by the way. You shouldn't be able to do this. You shouldn't be able to do that without ever looking at what manner of human being I am and how I choose to live my life." I frankly don't give a damn what either end of the spectrum thinks, because they are not important to me in my life. They do not determine how I live and what I do. Um, I work with conservative women because I use Lisa Vogel's image of planting acorns. When the trans community finally forced an end to the Michigan Women's Music Festival, Lisa Vogel said, "Go and plant acorns." She means do things to help the women's community grow. No more Michigan, but something here, something there can happen. I believe that working with conservative women is planting acorns. I may not see the oak tree. I may not live long enough, but I think by working with conservatives who may have seen people like you or maybe like me as being the lavender menace, or my God, there's queers around here somewhere. When they see us as human beings and realize that we have common ground on a lot more than just transgenderism and the folly of that, that all of a sudden the acorn got planted. You know, will we always agree on everything? No, it's not going to happen. And that makes life very interesting. But to reach the point where you can be friends, you can communicate, you can accept differences, you can accept that you don't agree on everything, but so what? We're both human beings and we happen to be friends. That's an oak tree. You know, one of my very dearest friends is an evangelical Christian woman, Kaylee Triller Harns. I mean, we know we don't agree, but I couldn't ask for a better friend. And now she's, homeschooling her kids because schools are closed. So I've been sending her stuff because I was a teacher for 37 years. And she helped me um, deal with my partner's hospitalization because of the ankle and everything. This is what friends do for one another. We don't always have to discuss politics. Sometimes it's fun to just be friends and play cribbage or talk about cooking or baking or whatever.
And not let those things divide us. I've been so shocked at how many of people that I thought were friends, people who I've known my whole life, people who I was very close to, have basically said they don't want anything to do with me because of the stance I've taken on this issue. And it's so sad to me that we've become so divisive that people who have disagreements on issues decide that they're unable to even be friends with each other.
I know, and it's so sad, and it's like radical feminism seeks to center women, and yet if you don't agree with what some of them have to say, you get booted out. It's confusing to me.
Can I just ask you, because it is fascinating to me, from my perspective, I look at you and I think you strike me as a powerful woman with, I don't know, just a lot of strength and a lot of energy. And I wonder why this issue. Why is it that this issue of all the social issues that are out there, what is it about this one that has gotten you motivated to work with evangelical Christians, the Heritage Society, to be a founding member of the Compassion Coalition that has, lots of conservative Christians in it? What is it about this particular issue that's so compelling?
Well, you need to know that I've always been an activist on behalf of civil rights for LGB people. First and foremost, it was the misogyny and the discrimination towards women that motivated me. It was, oh no, have you still got me? Okay, the governor just came on, so that noise you heard, I forgot to turn off my notifications. I apologize. The second thing that motivated me was the integrity of the conservative women that I met. They didn't lie. They didn't play any games. They told me the truth as they knew it, and they accepted my truth as I know it, and said, we can work together on this. We have common ground. Thirdly, it was the issue of children. I mean, what kind of society is it that starts injecting Luperon into a child? That's poison. You're sterilizing a child. You're giving them health problems for the rest of their life. What moral perversion is that? And finally, it's just, I don't know how to describe it, but I looked inside of my heart, and I know the difference between wrong and right. And I checked myself and I said, is this something I should be doing? And when I looked around at the attempts at erasing women and erasing women's culture and erasing lesbians, that place inside of me where I go to keep my own balance between right and wrong said, this is a worthy thing. You should not remain silent. And that sounds kind of strange, but I believe in integrity, I believe in accountability, and I believe in responsibility. And I don't see accountability, responsibility, or integrity coming from the transgender community at all. And so I conclude, therefore, that it is worthy to challenge them.
Well, and I think for a lot of us, it is the children. I tend to be a live and let live kind of person for adults, but it's just breaking my heart when I see these children who are, as you said, they're being injected with drugs that are going to damage their healthy bodies. They're being given drugs that are going to, cause them to have long-term negative health impacts. You and I both probably have not the bodies we always wish we wanted, that we struggle sometimes with health issues, and the idea that somebody would actually give a child a drug that would increase those problems that they have, to me, is unconscionable.
Well, it's moral perversity and moral bankruptcy. I think the other thing that really bothered me is throughout the course, I was a teacher for 37 years, and when I was teaching college, when I retired, I had tenure at Milwaukee Area Technical College. Every year, bar none, I would always have women who were beaten or whatever. I mean, I literally a number of times had to prevent males from coming into my classroom to get at the female they were with, or however you want to say it. And it's like, no, you're not coming in here. You want to try? You want to come through me? Bring it on. And I see the grooming of these children, the sexual grooming of these children, and I smell the rotten odor of pedophilia that saturates this thing. And that's another reason why I fight. Leave the children alone. What is it about men that, not all men, obviously, bad thing, not all men, but they want to use everything for their own pleasure.
Well, I think the grooming aspect of it,
enough that I can't stay silent.
and I really do think when I think about if I'm in a locker room and there's a man, biological male next to me who has an erect penis, and I'm not allowed to go tell anybody, I could actually, be called transphobic or a bigot for being concerned about that. And to me, that just it makes no sense to me. And when these girls are told that they don't have a right to consent to whether or not biological males see them naked, they don't have a right to consent to whether or not they undress in front of these biological males. And in some cases, if they're in school activities and they go on trips, they might not be told that they're going to stay in housing with a biological male. To me, that is undermining any chance that these children have of understanding what consent means.
Or boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just like, how is it that children and women are seen as so easily throwaway in this society and in other societies as well, for example, in Europe? How is it that we're seen as having no value whatsoever other than, okay, I'm going to use a bad word here, okay, but be aware of it, that women and children are seen as not being worth much more than being fuck toys for men or fuck tools. And I apologize for the vulgarity, but I don't know how else to say it. It's I don't understand. I really don't understand.
Well, and that makes me want to point something out that a lot of people don't understand about the trans movement, and that is that A woman who identifies as a male is a fundamentally different situation than a male who identifies as a female, because males who identify as females are almost all autogynephilic, which means they're actually getting sexually aroused the more they pass as a woman. So this is about their sexual gratification. Whereas women who identify as men are often doing that because they're running away from being a woman. They've been sexually assaulted, or for some other reason, they do not feel safe being a female. So it's a coping mechanism. And I think a lot of people don't understand that distinction. And so these autogynephilic men who say that they're women, they're doing it because they're getting sexual turn on when the more people recognize them as a female.
Not only that, but it's a male power trip. They were men, and now they want to take the very last thing away from what the other half of the universe has, which is their personhood, womanhood. They want to use that. I think the other thing that I find very interesting is when you look at the activists in the trans community who are TIMs, trans-identified males, they really don't regard females who identify as trans, female to trans, as men.
No.
They don't. I read one extremely vulgar and profane post by one who said that his world would mean that cis-identified men and women and trans men, that is, women who identify as trans, would be used for sexual gratification, and when they're used up, you kill them and throw them away. Transgenderism is basically a men's rights movement.
And that's something, can you talk a little bit about the threats that you've gotten? One of the things that just blows me away is that I hear about tolerance and love from the, that we should tolerate and love people. And yet the kinds of really gruesome, grotesque threats that often are made against women like you and I who are speaking out about this are kind of horrific. And somehow they're being accepted.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Facebook talks about community standards, but if a woman says men cannot be women and women cannot be men, she gets banned from Facebook. But you have these trans pages that talk about killing women or disemboweling women or using them sexually and then cutting them up. They talk about cannibalism. Some of these activists make direct threats. I mean, I was told to go crawl back into the oven where I belong. I'm a Jew. Do you get that? And I've been threatened. And my response universally, see, I know something. I'm prior military. If you want to do something to somebody, you're not gonna post it on social media. These kinds of guys who go around threatening women are relying on the fact that most women are not used to being threatened. They don't know what to do when this happens. I do. Okay, and I'm not frightened by it. I'm not afraid of any man, of any woman, or of any god. The only thing that scares me is a gun pointed at me. And so when I've been threatened, my response has been, okay, you name the place, you name the time. Oh, we'll bring all these activists. I said, no, I don't have any arguments with them. You're the one who threatened me. You say you want to do this to me. You, one-on-one. Tell me the place, tell me the time, I'll be there. Not a one of them has ever taken me up on it.
Because they like to intimidate women, but they're not. Yeah.
Stop taking these threats seriously. And if somebody gets doxxed or whatever, one of the things women should really do is, if every woman who felt that transgenderism is a real threat gave $1 and we all put it into this big box, right? And then we could help women who got doxxed and whose income or their livelihood or their job was threatened to fight back, this would stop. If every time a person got threatened, you went to the police and said, here's this person, you went to the FBI and said, here's this person. If we started standing up and fighting back, and every time a woman's job got threatened, 100 of us appeared picketing in front of that place saying, this is not right, what would happen? The problem with it is women have been taught to be nice. Sometimes I am, but pretty much I'm not when it comes to this issue. I have no patience for it. And women need to get uppity again. Look at our foremothers who were out in the streets getting the vote. Look at what they went through. They were force fed, they were beaten, they were jailed. You know, it probably is going to take that again. Not every woman will be willing to do that, but every woman can lend a hand.
And I like that. I think that's so important if we start to, and that's where the Compassion Coalition, the idea of it came from, because whenever we try to pass legislation or do something to stand up against this agenda, they're so powerful. And I'll never forget when I left a hearing in Alabama, and I was walking down the hallway, and all these men in dresses were saying horrible things to me. And I thought, I can't imagine any other situation where a society would condone, men being so abusive to a small older woman. And yet, in this case, it was seen as somehow liberating. They were fighting for their rights. And so I think that it's gonna take us to stand up against this, because at this point, it seems like they are very powerful and they're controlling the narrative. And people are afraid because, both of us know people who have lost their jobs for standing up against this. And so we need a way to support people who stand up against it.
Yeah, as I say, not every woman may be able to take it. You were extraordinarily brave. I can't comprehend that. I won't aggress. I won't be aggressive. But lay a hand on me, and that's the end of the matter. Um, Women need to realize that being nice and always being civil and trying to pander to these guys and get them to see logic and rationale just simply isn't going to work. Their cognitive dissonance is too strong. It's going to take standing up to them time and time again. Um, it may take, if somebody lays a hand on you, turning around and punching their lights out, or making sure that you have a woman with a phone or with a camera, or whatever, to catch this, and suing the bejesus out of them. You know what I mean? Take them to the court for everything they own, and make sure for the rest of their lives they'll pay you $1 if they have to use the bathroom. You know what I mean? It's time now to not be nice anymore.
Well, that's a good message to end on. Is there anything else that you want to say to people, especially regarding the Compassion Coalition and your involvement in it? If you have sort of one last message that you want to impart, I think what you just said probably is the most powerful.
Well, the message I have is this: we can work together. You may be conservative, you may be liberal, but we are talking about the survival of women as a distinct class of human beings. We are talking about the survival of children having the freedom to just grow up and be kids and be what they are without having big pharma and big medicine foisted upon them. If you value your future, if you value your children's future, if you value your grandchildren's future, then you need to think about joining the Compassion Coalition, because what we are fighting for is literally the dignity and the integrity of the future. And that's a worthy battle.